So, Brad, I believe you had a question about comprehension. Was that
I
means?
did. I was just curious what that means. Yeah, what is comprehension?
Well, overall, what we're looking at when Jenny and I are testing students for comprehension, really we want to look at what they're reading for their grade level, wherever they might be, and how much they understand out of a typical story for a child their age. And so that gets more and more complex as they get older and go to their
You want
senior
to see
year.
like if you read something and then ask you what you learned from that or what you remember. Is that what you mean?
That's exactly it. So typically we use, they read a short story and then they'll answer a couple of multiple choice questions, and 1 out of 4 answers will be the correct answer of what they interpreted from the story.
Yeah, and with Mario, we also looked at his verbal comprehension of when a story is read to him, as opposed to him just reading a story by himself, but having like me read a story to him into the class and to how much of that he could comprehend.
How did you do on that?
He struggled with it. He got 1 out of 9 questions right on a class or a story that I read to the class.
Where we had go?
There you go.
I want to.
So about 1 out of 9. Does that?
1 out of 9. So so maybe that explains like why he's having such a hard time at church, like learning the Bible and stuff like that.
No, that's absolutely true. So sometimes he doesn't always get the message that's being read to him because even if he reads it or if he hears it out loud, he's having a hard time understanding things that he can't actually grasp physically in his hands. Does that make sense,
I
Brad?
thought it was just being stubborn.
No, it's not a case of him not wanting to. It's that he just is really struggling with it.
Okay. We just kind of thought maybe he was confusing. So we were kind
And
of think he was lazy or whatever.
And
I
that's not
can
the
see
case
how
at all.
that can come across sometimes with kids who are really struggling with it, is they seem disinterested when really they just can't quite get it.
Okay. Well, thank you.
A little bit of what we're seeing, I think we see that both of these problems work together because some of the frustrations he has because he can't understand this information sometimes leads to some of his verbal or physical aggression that we've talked about as well.
So he's just not like, he's having a hard time like expressing himself like emotionally. Is that what you mean? Like he's just
A little bit like that,
so
absolutely.
He's frustrated. So okay, I see.
Christine, do you have anything else to add on that of where those frustrations might be coming from with Mario?
Oh yeah, you can see that come out a lot just in the general day. You know, if usually we've seen a pattern with some of his outbursts have been happening. And we can usually see that right after or before language arts, which is his hardest class. And he just can get pretty frustrated. And sometimes if someone just says the wrong thing to him at the wrong time, he just lets loose. And that's where we see a lot of the write-ups happening. So we're hoping now that we've pinpointed a lot of stuff and he's gotten evaluated, we're actually able to pinpoint a little bit more, and then we can start working on the education piece, and then we can start working on that emotional and social piece.
Do you have any further questions about that, Brad? Does that all make sense?
It does, yeah. Thank you.
Well, we're
So
glad.
we gotta work on some cars. So
We'll get everything worked out. So additionally, we'll be looking. That kind of leads into our next point. What we were just talking about is his verbal and physical aggression, and we're seeing this about 4 out of 5 days in the week right now. There are more bad days that he has, or at least once in the day he verbally tells a peer, might use name calling, make fun of another kid, or push or punch them.
Yeah, and yelling and screaming at them as well, which is pretty intimidating.
We understand that, but we have the parameters of what we have here, and we're going to try our best to make a system here where he doesn't feel the need to use that type of behavior.
Yeah, where we can prevent him from engaging in behavior.
he sees consequences, man. He needs to be punished.
And we have some consequences that we're going to cover, but we're going to try to use some real positive, proactive strategies to try and even prevent them from
That's how I
happening.
learned. It's the belt, man. The belt.
Right.
Yeah.
We're going to see what we can do for him here that encourages him to have the best behavior possible.
Mhm.
So looking at that, that's what we're seeing right now. That's kind of gives us our baseline. Jenny, let's talk a little bit about what you're seeing in the classroom that you've noticed when you're teaching Mario.
Okay, fantastic. I've started taking notes on Mario's behavior in January. And on the 15th, I noticed that I'm concerned about his ability to contribute in positive ways to the class. He's very outspoken and noisy and having difficult time focusing on the tasks he's assigned in class. He began loudly telling a joke to peers at his work area and was initially unresponsive to my attempts at quieting him down and getting him back on task. I've been forced to move him to different work areas around the classroom to get him to stop chatting with his neighbors, which his neighbors seem to get pretty uncomfortable with him chatting with them during the class because they want to stay on task. So him disengaging them from the task at hand has been disruptive to them. He's having issues understanding the basic sentence structure of subjects and predicates. He only answered 3 out of 16 questions correctly on a quiz.
What?
Subjects and predicates.
What was that?
So overall, like what the topic of the conversation might be in a story. So for example, a simple story for a boy his age would be, I'm trying to think of a good example here.
I would know, I'm the general ed teacher,
Right.
but it's really just escaping my brain the story that we were working on for that quiz because it was a few months ago.
Oh, okay.
But like the subject of the story would be like the dog. If you're reading a story about a dog, there's the dog, and the predicate is.
That's right, but he's having us trouble with the predicates as well.
I really didn't want to ask it.
But he is having a hard time with the subjects. And so just overall understanding what maybe say the main character is doing in a story and what that character did, that kind of information. And he's having a hard time even grasping the main topic of the story.
Does that answer your question? You feel that that answers your question? Does that clarify
so
for you a little bit better?
The kind of the aftermath, the consequence, or is that what predicate is? Or, okay, I think I understand. I mean, honestly, if you don't apply, I don't really know.
Either did I. I couldn't.